Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be talking about part 5 of the Dalek invasion of Earth with the First Doctor. And I have to say, the first 5 minutes of this story, ooh, they are not good. It was so much so that about 4 minutes in, I realized really quickly I am going to have to take notes. There is so much bad going on, I'm not going to be able to remember it all. I have to take notes. So I had to get my notepad for this one. Now, the story does get better as it goes on. We'll get into that. But, right at the beginning, resolving the cliffhanger, the way that Ian kills or stops the little creature thing, it looks awful. It looks fake. It looks terrible. Okay, they jump into this giant little, whatever it is, like one of those little buckets you ride in to go up to like a ski mount to ski or something. Where did that come from? Because in the cliffhanger at episode 4, it doesn't look like it's there. It's just a cliff. We don't see the bucket thing. They're just like, oh no, we're trapped. And then the creature's coming toward them. They're like, oh no. Suddenly, at the start of this episode, there it is. And then they have to jump to get to it. And by jump, it looks like this far. You know, you can just kind of, okay. And so they get in it. And then they're like, I hope the creature can't jump. And then the creature does jump in there with them somehow, because it doesn't look like the creature can jump. But the creature jumps in with them. And instead of immediately killing them, like you think it would, the way it took out the guy with the gun in episode 4, instead Ian beats it by hitting it with a rock. I should say love tapping it with a rock, because this is Ian hitting it with a rock. It looks so fake, you can tell he's not really hitting it. It looks very panto, very theatrical, but the camera's too close. Theater works because the audience is a little ways away. It's not good to have the camera right up on it. And then the creature, I'm guessing it doesn't die from the rock, it dies from being knocked out of the little pod. But you can't tell that from the camera angle, because it's way too far up close. You just kind of have to assume that because you don't see the creature anymore. Because it doesn't make sense otherwise, because in episode 4, the one guy shot the thing multiple times, and it still managed to kill him just fine. And now suddenly it's getting hit by a rock, and it's like, and I'm guessing it lost its grip and fell. I'm guessing. The whole scene is badly shot. And that carries over into the next scene. And the next note I have is the badly choreographed fight against the Robo-Men. Right at the beginning of the episode, when they're still in like the sewers and they're fighting the Robo-Men, the choreography there is garbage. It is awful. It looks badly staged. Like they didn't even actually choreograph it. They just like do stuff. It's terrible. Terrible. And then when the one guy, like, there's one point when one guy could shoot them, but instead, the way he chooses to do his movements is really bad. I can't remember exactly how it played out, but I remember thinking it looked really weird when, he could have shot one, but instead he, punches another one and gets grabbed. It's really awkward. And then when the guy who's not David, the guy who looks like the miner from Colony in Space, when he lands on the ground and fires up at the one going up the ladder. It cuts from him turning around, firing up, and then it does this weird camera cut to where it shows the Roboman just leaning on the ladder dead, and it zooms out, pans out. It's a really weird camera jump, the way it goes from him, bang, to... It's really jarring and awkward to me when I noticed it, enough to where I'm like, I got to write that down. That's probably where I actually realized I've got to start taking notes, because there's so much bad going on. It's almost like the first 5 minutes weren't directed by the normal director. It's like the normal director was busy or something. He had something going on, and so they just had to get somebody random to do it. And by somebody random, I'm like, let's get the hobo over there to do it. Hey, you, yeah, come here. How do you think we should do this? I don't know, but it's really awkward. Now, it has a couple nice little touches picking up from there. Susan's not nearly as annoying in this episode. That's good. I like when he goes to kill the other Rovermen and the doctor's like, no, I never take life unless it's in defense of my own or others. I like that. I'm glad to have the First Doctor back, because when the First Doctor's in this story, he's phenomenal. I absolutely love it. Hartnell is on fire. That's one of the reasons why 3 and 4, 3 was still pretty good, but it kind of suffered for not having him in it much. 4 was problematic because obviously something was up with Hartnell. He was on holiday, his health was bad, whatever. Him not being in episode 4 is very apparent. Much like him not being in episode 3 of 10th Planet. Very apparent. So now that he's back here, it really helps pick things back up. He's just on fire here. And I love the fact that he's at that point in his life where he's much more innocent. He doesn't have all the blood on his hands that modern Who would give him later. You know, he doesn't have all these regrets and sadness and lonely godness, which I'm not saying are bad things, but I'm glad that we don't have that here, and how he talks about, much like he does later in Galaxy 4, about I never take life. I love that. I enjoy that. And the way Hartnell does that line is great. And there's another thing I really like about this scene. It's a minor thing that I'll circle back to in just a minute. The part later in the story when Ian is with the guy like Larry or something like that, and the other guy's looking for his brother. He's been looking for his brother the whole story, and he finally finds his brother, and his brother is a Robo-Man and doesn't recognize him. Two things on this. One, the way they actually end up dying and killing each other is very panto, It's bad. Like, when they're struggling, the gun goes off. It doesn't really sound like a gun. It's supposed to be a gun. It doesn't sound like a gun. There's no blood anywhere. It is very much one of those, it's 60s classic Doctor Who, engage, willing, suspension of disbelief. And it's fine, but it does look a bit naff. Now, that being said, the emotion that goes behind it and the message behind it is phenomenal. The fact, it does a good job of showing the tragedy of the Robo-Men, much like the tragedy of a zombie and the tragedy of the Cybermen, is that the guy doesn't even recognize his brother anymore. The guy who's been turned into a Robo-Man. You know, all of who he was has been stripped away with him. He's just been turned into basically a puppet for the Daleks. You know, just a walking corpse practically, much like a zombie. The brain and everything is gone. He doesn't really recognize him. And Larry, the one that's still human, while he's talking to his brother, is like, don't you remember, Allison or whatever her name is, your wife? Don't you remember your wife? So you know that the guy who is now a Robo-Man had a wife, and he doesn't remember her either. So it shows you the tragedy of this character and the tragedy of what has been done to these people who are Robo-Men. Circling back to what I talked about before in the scene when the doctor was talking about I never take life, the Robo-Man, he stops the guy from killing. If you notice who's laying on the ground unconscious, if you look, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. The one that's on the ground unconscious, the Robo-Man, has on a wedding ring. If you look, because his hand's kind of splayed out like this, he's got a wedding ring on. You can see it. There is a wedding ring there. I'm pretty certain I saw a wedding ring. And I like it because it's so nuanced. It's such an itty-bitty little thing that would be easy to miss. But if it is there, if I'm right and it's there, I love that. That is fantastic because it means that this person, this creature, this Robo-Man used to be a person. He had a wife that loved him, that he loved, I would imagine. Probably had children. And all of that has been stripped away from him. Everything. And it's really tragic. It's actually really tragic. There's a lot of really subtle context that is really, really tragic. Much like zombies. And much like the Cybermen, These used to be actual people. And while, like you see a zombie, it may still look like your loved one. They're gone. It's not them anymore. It's something that's going to kill you and eat you. Same thing with the Cybermen. That might have been your loved one, your significant other, but all they're worried about now is converting you. They went from, we have to fight the Cybermen, we have to stop them, and now they're all, you will be like us. That's all that's left. Everything that really made them is gone. They're just a walking corpse now. And I really like how well the story hits that home. Despite the Panto death, it really does a good job of getting that point across here. To me. I really like Hartnell's speech when they're around the fire, cooking the fish and everything. That whole scene is good. The beginning of it, when Susan and David are talking, like he hangs the fish in front of her face and she kind of screams. Typical Susan, that amused me. But then they get playful and they even start to kiss when they get interrupted by the doctor. And I like that. I like that we're seeing this relationship build between them. Because they do seem to have a really good camaraderie, really good chemistry together. I like how comfortable she seems to feel with him and how much she kind of laughs at his jokes and stuff. Not jokes necessarily, but they have this little fun, flirtatious banter between them. that I really like. I think that's developing really, really well. So I enjoy that scene when they're being playful together. And then when the first Doctor shows up, his little speech about the Daleks, you know. They wouldn't destroy the whole planet. Oh, they would dare. And we must dare to stop them. That is a great Hartnell speech. I really, really enjoyed it. That really helped pick the episode up for me. Because after the first 5 or so minutes, the episode does get better. I liked it more. I knew that the old woman and the young woman were going to betray Barbara and the other girl. I just saw that coming a mile away when they stop into their house. And, we'll give you a little food. Oh, yeah, you can sleep here tonight. And I just was expecting them to pick up a rock and try to club Barbara over the head. And when the older woman sent the younger woman out, I'm like, she's going to get the Daleks or she's going to get the Robo-Men. So I saw that coming a mile away. I knew not to trust those two women. They're just that, much like in other scenarios where things have gotten bad, there's always going to be those humans that maybe they were once good people, but everything that's happened to them has hardened them, has made them bitter. So they're only looking out for themselves at this point, and anyone that comes by is just, what supplies do you have that I can steal? And kind of like, Lawrence Fishburne's character in Predators. He's willing to kill them just to get all their stuff. That's kind of how these are. They just wanted all the food Barbara had. I saw that coming. I really like Ian in this one. He is very much the alpha male trying to take charge and do the right thing and rescue Barbara. I am really enjoying him in this story. He has some more good moments here. Now, episode 5, again, the first 5 or 6 minutes were pretty bad. Just a lot of it was just the choreography, the filming, the angles. There's a lot of bad directing choices. But after that, it really does pick up. It really does pick up and become a much better episode. And I'm looking forward to seeing episode 6 and seeing how the story concludes. So that's my thoughts on episode 5 of The Invasion of the Daleks. I'd like to know what you think of this episode, so comment down below and let me know. I have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There is a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, the 5th Doctor and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their continued support. I also have a P.O. box. If there's anything you would like to send me, there is a link to that down in the description as well. I also have an Amazon wish list if there is anything on that you would like to send me. And if nothing else, I'd just appreciate if you haven't done it yet, just clicking that subscribe button and clicking the bell for notifications. I'm always trying to grow the channel. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.